Seems to be some haterade in the league in regards to Clark, starting with WNBA legend Sheryl Swoopes herself. She recently spoke on her podcast, Queens of the Court, and didn't mention the rookie when speaking of Indiana's rise in the standings.
Make sure to like and subscribe. Stephen A. Smith basically told Sheryl Swoopes to shut up about her ridiculous statements regarding potential MVP of the WNBA league, Caitlin Clark. Sheryl Swoopes' recent remarks surrounding Caitlin Clark is anything far from good, which suggests she's either delusional or crazy because she's clearly the best player in the league, and not only that, she shattered a record Sheryl could only have dreamt of. It suggests possible prejudice or discrimination against Caitlin Clark, who is today one of the league's most promising talents. Having become the quickest player in WNBA history to reach 500 points and 200 assists, Clark's quick ascent has made her a target not only for rival defenses but maybe even for officials. Her explosive play style and breakout success highlight her every movement and draw attention to her every action. Stephen A. Smith worries that this extra scrutiny could result in more severe treatment towards Caitlin Clark.
Respectfully, Sheryl Swoopes, you have any idea how that makes you look? You have any idea how that serves to stain any kind of critique of Caitlin Clark, because that gives fodder to those who believe she's being hated on and ostracized to some degree?
Moreover, Team USA would have benefited much from Clark's capacity to appeal to younger viewers. She speaks to a younger generation of supporters who grew up seeing her viral highlights and appreciating her court bravery. Her social media profile and explosive playing style make her ideal ambassador for where women's basketball is headed. Team USA may have connected with a more varied fan base and attracted younger viewers by using her charm. Ultimately, the choice to exclude Caitlin Clark from the USA list is not only about ignoring a very gifted athlete, it's about missing the overall picture. Any club should be ready to welcome the intangible assets Clark may have created: media attention, buzz, enthusiasm. Every chance to highlight its top players should be seized in a sport still under constant struggle for recognition. Exactly what women's basketball needs right now. Clark is the kind of athlete who goes beyond the game and gives the sport fresh perspective. The case of Stephen A. Smith is finally about appreciating the power of the moment. By being on Team USA, Clark would have been acknowledging where the sport is headed and who will guide it there. The team forfeited not only her extraordinary basketball skills, but also the possible marketing momentum she may have generated by excluding her from the lineup. When such a chance presents itself once more, Team USA and other teams must understand the importance of players like Caitlin Clark, those who can ball but also have the ability to elevate the game.
All Sheryl Swoopes did was validate all the speculation that there's folks hating on Caitlin Clark. That's all she did.
Stephen A. Smith's reply addresses a more general conversation about Caitlin Clark's rising popularity in basketball and the criticism usually accompanying such a rapid ascent. When he adds, all Sheryl Swoopes did was validate all the speculation that there's folks hating on Caitlin Clark, Smith is referring to an ongoing conversation whereby famous people like Swoopes could unintentionally foster the belief that others are undercutting Clark's impact. Although Clark's brilliance has attracted a lot of attention, that exposure also brings scrutiny and criticism from many directions. Even with a 90-80 setback in her most recent game against the Minnesota Lynx, Caitlin Clark still displayed why she's among the most intriguing players in the game. Even with the loss, Clark's key contribution in arranging her team's attack and maintaining their competitiveness caught out. Even in losses, her still impressive control of the game, scoring, and playmaking keeps. However, this also draws attention to her and makes her a target for detractors who might find her quick climb unsettling or just seek for means to minimize her achievements. Smith's comment thus emphasizes how legends like Sheryl Swoopes, intentionally or not, may help to create a society in which young talents like Caitlin Clark endure needless scrutiny. Smith seems to be drawing attention to a more general problem in sports, whereby tremendous skill is sometimes greeted with not only appreciation, but also unjustified criticism, since some people may find the new face of the game uncomfortable.
But I'm waiting for you to say I was right. Caitlin Clark can ball. She should have been on Team USA.
Stephen A. Smith's comment that Caitlin Clark can ball unequivocally confirms her unquestionable court ability. Clark is a force to be reckoned with, not a hype, as she has often shown. Among the most exciting players in women's basketball today, her ability to light up the scoreboard, make improbable shots, and take over games distinguishes her. This is not only about potential. Clark has demonstrated in college and during her time with the Indiana Fever that she has the talents, composure, and leadership to challenge the best. Smith's assertion that she ought to have been on Team USA touches on a fundamental problem that transcends her own ability. It emphasizes in the realm of sports the need of star power and marketability. In the sports scene of today, it's not only about a player's performance, though Clark definitely checks that box, but also about what that athlete offers in terms of fan engagement, media attention, and general excitement. With her engaging demeanor and highlight reel performances, Caitlin Clark would have given Team USA a degree of buzz and vitality few others could have matched. From a marketing standpoint, as much as basketball talent, Clark's absence from Team USA signals a lost chance. The USA basketball program is about presenting the best talent the nation has to offer on a worldwide scene, not merely about winning. It's about portraying the sport's future and creating a story around the squad that thrills sponsors and supporters both. For that platform, Clark, who has a special capacity to enthrall audiences, would have been ideal. Her participation might have drawn fresh viewers, produced media coverage, and raised the team's profile, all of which are vital in a time when women's sports are gathering steam yet still struggle for greater attention. From a marketing sense, including Clark on Team USA would have been a calculated action to guarantee that the squad not only dominated on the court, but also generated waves off it. She's the kind of player that can attract casual viewers, those who might not usually follow women's basketball but pay attention since they have heard about Caitlin Clark's incredible performance. Her presence alone might have generated narratives, spurred social media activity, and improved the profile of every roster item. Smith's comments also address a more general truth in contemporary sports. Marketing counts. Star players must take the stage if women's sports are to keep expanding. Arguably, with an obligation, the WNBA and USA Basketball have a chance to situate their most marketable and intriguing athletes in places where they might help the game expand. It's about broadening the fan base, landing bigger TV contracts, and drawing greater attention to the game, not only about winning medals or championships. Caitlin Clark is a fresh wave of talent ready for just that, and her absence from Team USA would be interpreted as a missed chance. One cannot exaggerate the value of marketing in sports. Any effective league or club will show you that their stars represent the face of the sport, its champions, not only athletes. Players like LeBron James, Stephen Curry, and Kevin Durant in men's basketball are global icons who help the game flourish all around, not just for their ability. Women's basketball requires its own symbols, and Caitlin Clark is headed towards one of them. Team USA lost an opportunity to magnify her stardom on a global scene by excluding her.
She should have been on Team USA because you needed the marketing buzz. I didn't say she was better than all 12 players that were on the team instead of her. Even though when they almost lost to France, I was getting nervous.
Stephen A. Smith's scathing criticism of Sheryl Swoopes is noteworthy since it tackles not only her remarks regarding Caitlin Clark, but also the wider ramifications of her perspective on Clark's ascent. Respected in the basketball scene, Swoopes is sometimes credited as one of the forerunners who shaped the WNBA into what it is today. Smith's comments, however, imply that her most recent comments could compromise her legacy and the respect she has accumulated over years. Smith's direct challenge to Swoopes is his pointed inquiry, "You have any idea how that makes you look?" He is basically urging her to give her posture's optics some thought. For someone with Swoopes' reputation, putting doubt or negativity on a young player like Clark could be perceived as petty or even jealous rather than as helpful critique. It could make one believe she is disconnected from the present situation of the game or reluctant to hand the next generation of stars the batons. This kind of approach can be detrimental not only to the league, but also to Swoopes' own reputation as a leader and role model inside the sport in a league that is always changing and striving for development. Smith also rightly notes that Swoopes' remarks provide fodder to those who feel Caitlin Clark is being unfairly singled out. In the realm of sports, stories count, and it's more than simply a difference of opinion when a revered icon like Swoopes criticizes a young talent. One can consider it as an attempt to discredit the newcomer. In the WNBA, where players and the league itself have long battled against being excluded from the larger sports world, this is particularly perilous. For Clark, who is bringing fresh eyes to the game and increasing league prominence, experiencing what feels like internal criticism could seem to outsiders as though the WNBA is consuming its own young talent. Swoopes' critique of Clark runs the danger of creating a story whereby the WNBA cannot support its young talents without jealously or veteran opposition. As Smith suggests, this might damage the league's reputation and maybe repel new viewers lured to talents like Clark. These supporters could view the league as not being able to welcome fresh talent without separating along generational lines. Worse still, this inner struggle could be interpreted as supporting unfavorable preconceptions about women's sports, namely that players lack cohesiveness and there is needless drama. Smith's ask of Swoopes to consider how this affects her appearance goes beyond only Clark. It is about the general view of how legends treat their successors. For many years, Swoopes was seen as a game ambassador, someone who cleared the path for the modern players. Her reputation as a trailblazer may be diminished, though, if her comments are interpreted as stemming more from animosity than from honest criticism. As Smith puts it, the stain on her critique is that it lets critics accuse her of being out of touch, or worse, unhelpful to the league's expansion.